Welcome to Thinking Green. I'm Rana, and now that elections are really over and we've also kind of dissected the results afterwards, this program is going to shift its focus for the next couple months. It's the end of the year. People are starting to think about end-of-year charitable giving. It's starting to get very cold out, so we're starting to think about members of our community who might be in need. So our shows for the next month or two will focus on different community organizations. So this week, my guest is Reona Dyess, who is the longtime executive director of the Drop-In Learning Center, which I think has a very long official name. The center, a Drop-In Community Learning and Resource Center, but everyone still knows it as the Drop. And welcome back, actually.
Thank you.
I wonder if you might want to just start out talking a little bit about, the history of the Drop. I know you had some involvement even before you were the director, and let people know.
Well, the Drop started 1970 and then became incorporated in 1971. But Ann Schreiber is the one who started the Drop-In Learning Center. And their goal was to actually have a space for parents to really support the education, their child education. So the Drop was a happening place. They were having meetings all around the clock because a lot of parents was working and so forth. So they were meeting and strategizing on how to provide the best quality education for their children, but also working with the school system, advocating for their kids and so forth. And then Elizabeth Hamilton, before Elizabeth Hamilton, what ended up happening is that they were also the Drop was going into the community. At that time, they called it the community projects, but community centers. So we're talking about like Crystal Avenue and places like that. They were going in there teaching parents how to play with their children. So they had what they call a Linden Library, which was toys, was a toy library. And kids can check out, not kids, but the parents could check out toys and play with their children. And Elizabeth Hamilton was one of the parents that benefited from that. Now, when we talk about a long time, she was the executive director for 30 years.
Wow.
Yes. And she was the one who had hired me. And when I interviewed with her, I was going for the Reading is Fundamental job, which she asked me, did I enjoy giving out books? Do you think that kids in the community deserve books? And I had to read to her. So I had to make sure when I read to her, I was interactive and it was really sweet. She hired me. And at that time, we were only serving 2,500 kids. And before that program had ended, we were up to 10,000 kids. We were doing Groton, Norwich, New London, and Waterford. And we were bringing new paperback books to the kids at the various schools. And what was nice about that particular program is that when we had was it Wells Tales or Books Brushes, when you guys, when New London had feature authors, right, I will order those books. So when I went to do RIF at the school, the kids was getting books from by those authors. So when the authors, when they had a chance to meet them at the festival, they got their books signed. So it was like a win-win with the community.
Wow, that was fantastic. So is RIF still around?
Actually, it's not. It's not for the Drop. But because it was a national organization, and it still provide books throughout, but they changed the dynamics of it. It used to be that 75% of the book cost was paid for by the government, and then we had to come up with 25% of the book cost.
Not a bad deal.
It was a perfect deal because it was 30,000 books that we were giving out because we visit each school 3 times a year. And we were doing middle school all the way down to preschool. So it was a win-win, but just things shift and change. But now they have other ways to get brand new books out to the kids. I know that Wells, is it?
Yeah, in the Martin Center.
In the Martin
through
Center, yes.
Yes, through the Office of Youth Affairs.
Yes.
They do give out probably not as many new books, but gently used books.
Exactly. Well, one of the things we have did over the years is supply them with books. So also when we were dispersing of the RIF program, our extra supplies and went to them, and we still, as I'm sorting out and getting organized at our new site, we've been sending books right over because it's a win-win as for our community.
Well, yeah, and more
children.
than direct reading, giving reading instructions to children, having good books in their house that they can read and they and their parents can look at together, I think fosters the enjoyment of reading as well as the skills of reading.
Yes.
And you really need both pieces to be a good reader. I used to love when Riff would come to my preschool classes, and I think from the mid '80s until the mid 2000s, more than that, maybe 2010 when I retired, we had Riff coming because the Kiwanis took it over for quite a while.
Yeah, and you know what? They're actually still doing it.
They are.
Yes, they have a couple of daycares that they take turns reading, and they bring books when they come out and read. So that that is an excellent point. So it did change, and you're right. They only serve about maybe 4 daycares, but still, imagine if all the social clubs took time to adopt that. We can really hit a lot of the daycares.
Yeah, I know. They probably still do Riverfront Children's Center in Groton, and I was working there, before. That was my last place of work before I retired, and I remember the frequent visits from readers. They were well, my room actually challenged them a lot because it was 1-year-olds, and to get 1-year-olds to sit through an entire book, unless you're really cuddling them on your lap, is a little challenging. But so has the mission and the function of the drop changed since over the last 40 years? 50 years almost.
You're almost 50 years. You are so correct.
Wow.
But one of the things is that the drop adapt to the needs of the community. So when I started, we were just an after-school program, and we were doing summer enrichment and then some Saturday activities. But throughout the years, one of the things we end up opening up a preschool program. Then we our teens program. Wow. So the mission hasn't changed because the goal is to really support our children and to provide resources and opportunities for their parents. Because when we're looking at programming, we're looking at programming for the entire family, because it's important that the parents are learning and growing with their children so they can share a lot of the things together. So when I think about coming up in December, you have the Nutcracker coming up, and we have been so fortunate to receive tickets so our families can go, so the kids can share this beautiful play with their families, and they can talk about it and so forth. I just think it's important when you're looking at opportunity and programming for families to look at things where kids and families can do together.
Well, I like the fact that you're going out into the community and using its resources too, because I kind of remember when the first youth talent show was held in New London. What was that, about 5-6 years ago? And I was working for Head Start, and many of the parents, I bought a bunch of, they were really cheap the first year. I bought a whole bunch of tickets and gave them out to families and parents. And some of the parents said they had not been at the Gard Art Center since they were students in school, 15, 20, 25 years before. And it just seems so sad to me that most of these families, they lived in, the low-income housing, Federal Street, Huntington, Crystal Avenue, just a couple of blocks from this wonderful theater, and they really didn't feel a part of it very much. So I'm glad to see that the drop is getting them to shows that aren't just the youth talent show, although that is great, but to some of, the more mainstream fare that comes through.
So over the years, our partnership with the Guard Art has been our students worked as volunteers, because it's really important that they understand this is a way to give back to the community, but also they had an opportunity to see some great plays, musicals, just a lot of different things. And over the years, at one time, the Guard had a jazz area where they had different artists come in. Mr. Kitchen was a part of that. Our students would volunteer with me as usher and stuff, and had a chance to go to a lot of the jazz session. What was so awesome, he used to have the artists come in and work with the students for a period of time before they go on to the show the following day. Well, the drop was always there, and that's one of the things that I really love being on this side of town, is because you're right, we know the importance of utilizing resources and making sure that our kids and our parents understand these resources are there for them. So by us doing that, it encouraged a lot of our parents to think about, maybe I can volunteer. Oh, wait a minute, you mean that show is going on? So it caused different dialogue in their family, at their home. So I really appreciate doing that. But also the fact that because the Guard is a nonprofit community agency, they need that. They need volunteers to come in. And so we actually still got our own what is that, vest, usher's vest. I keep it there. So whenever I say, okay, guys, this is coming up, they got more training, and what was so nice is that they would give us special training. What I mean special was, it wasn't it wasn't on the schedule, but I tell them, I said, I got 10 students that need to be trained. Can you do this for us? So we really appreciate it. And it was a win-win for the Guard and for the drop.
Now, can you talk a little in detail about what programs you have for children of different ages?
Oh, wow.
Like starting with maybe the pre-K,
Okay.
and like your hours and what kind of programming you have, and then we'll go to the others.
No problem. The first program is our pre-K, which is 3 to 5 years old. It's from 8 to 3 p.m., but we do have aftercare from 3 to 5. And what I tell parents, we do take care for kids. We are a licensed facility. Our program is licensed for age, actually 18 months, all the way up to age 12.
Wow.
And so with that, we have our school-age kids. And these are kids that's in right now in elementary. So you're looking at kindergarten all the way up to 5th grade. So those kids come after school, half day. So if I look tired, trust me, today was a half day, yesterday and today.
For aftercare people, I know half days of school
That's
could be
5 and a
very
half
long.
hours. Yeah, and see what it is that we're really geared up in the summertime, because it's summertime. You can take the kids here, there, and everywhere. But when you're doing the school year, it's a little bit different, especially if you notice I got my vest on because it's cold. But
It's going to get colder, I hate to tell you.
Yes, but with that being said, our school-age children come after school. The bus actually drop them off. We provide, and I didn't say this with my pre-K, but we provide for our program their meals. So rather if they're there all day, breakfast, lunch, and snack. Thank goodness for the CFCFP Child Nutrition Program. We are part of that, which means that it is state funded, but we have a menu that we must respect and go by. So the kids are getting quality food, a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables and so forth. But then our after school kids, homework consists of homework that their school may have given them to do, but also 20 minutes of reading. Our goal is when our kids get off the bus, we provide their after school snack, but also we give them time for them to get their homework done. With that being said, from that 4 to 5 time frame is the time where the kids are doing enrichment activity. And today, I tell you, NESS, New English Science and Sailing Program, they were wonderful. And what I mean by wonderful, they came in, and as soon as our kids got off the bus, because today is considered their Friday, they didn't do their 20 minutes reading. They went straight into nests. Then we had holiday cards. So if any of my parents watching, if you get mail from your child, know that that's what we were practicing. How to address an envelope, picking out the right holiday card for your family. Where do the stamp go? Where do the return address? So I was amazed with some of our kids not realizing the importance of receiving mail. So I can't wait until we get back to programming on Monday to hear how do they feel that their letter came to their home wishing their family a happy holiday. And I say, guys, you're probably going to be the first one to wish your family a formal holiday.
Yes.
So with that, then we have our middle school kids that comes after school as well. It's homework support, but the goal with the middle school, because everybody needs is so different, each of the various age group. Your preschool is getting ready for school. Your school age is maintaining and understanding time management, making sure that they're feeling good about where they're at in their academic quest and as they go forward. But our middle school is a little bit of everything. And what I mean, yes, they need a safe place to do their homework, but they also need support where, just example, I had one student come in and she's at the middle school and she explained to me, I'm in the science tech program, the science program, but I know I want to go to science technology at the high school. I'm at pre-algebra, but I'm a little nervous. I need some help and support. Can you give me some help support? So she came in. She was one of my students when she was younger. She knew, I think the drop can help me. And her mother came yesterday. And I just thought that was beautiful because people realize we are a resource. But what I'm finding is that people don't realize where we're located at.
Yes, they don't. And we have a couple of slides, actually, that show your current location. You're at St. James Church up on the top floor.
Yes, and our teens is at the bottom. So we actually have two sites. I mean, we have two areas for our programs.
Yeah, I didn't realize you were in the bottom, but I know that area well. So yeah, the big room, and I just wanted to have a couple slides about some of the activities.
Oh, that was spooky stories
that happen in the space.
Yes.
And then mealtime. And then, gross motor stuff. And, but I guess, now you started talking about the Guard, but I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the other organizations you partner with. And I do have slides that you can maybe tell us, what they're about, and then we can pick up on anything we miss. So.
Expresiones. Yeah. Which was nice because I didn't mention about our summer enrichment program, which served kids pre-K all the way up to age 14, and because middle school and some kids are going to high school, so that's why it's up to age 14. But Expresiones have been with us for over 5 years, ever since they came into the area, and right now we're at their art studio. And so our kids are learning about different art techniques from artists from South America, from Peru. But what is so beautiful about it is that some of my children are from these different areas. So that connection, they get so excited, Peruvian. They're like, I'm Peruvian. And then when the artists speak in their native tongue, it's just put a pride in our kids where they like, wow, look at this. And so we've been, what's the other part is that they learn different techniques. They always have an art show at the end of their program. And so if this was from the summer, we had really nice showing of all their artwork, and then the kids had a chance to talk about it a little bit. But we also celebrated lights on after school, and through the hallway going up the stairs to St. James Parish Hall, I have the kids' artwork hanging up. So they had a chance to have their own art show right where they're located at. But during the school year, expressionists come once a week, artists, and it rotates. So right now, our kids design their own chess boards and chess pieces, and it's just amazing because this summer they had learned how to draw portraits, face and images, and so it's just one of those things where it's just kind of exciting.
And it sounds like it's a real advantage to be at St. James right downtown and have all these resources to walk to.
Yes, yes.
I did work in that downstairs space for a couple of years, and it's just fantastic to have the library, to have the waterfront, to have children's homes nearby, to have everything going on Bank Street and State Street right at your disposal.
Well, one of the things the kids did this summer is learn how to take the public transportation. And it was amazing when they learned the different routes and so forth. My middle school kids, we actually took the bus to Connecticut College. Dr. Dunlap gave us a personal tour, which is always wonderful. But Connecticut College allow us to utilize their Olympic-sized pool. So our kids twice a week. So we're on the college campus, and that's really truly important. Being exposed, feeling comfortable, and using their resources there. And it's always wonderful when the local professors take time to embrace the kids and talk about the importance of mapping and setting goals and what is your next step. And Dr. Dunlap was wonderful. We truly appreciate her.
Now we also
New London Fresh. So, and we actually partnered with New London Fresh for when they were just fresh. So at the very beginning, we were their fiduciary for a while. When they were changing, so I had a chance to see them evolve. When we used to pick the vegetables and stuff, our kids was help us set up the bags at one time.
Wow.
When they were doing that. But what was so nice is that came from their garden. And this summer, we had a garden at Fresh. 2 plots rather. We had another garden on Cottage Street, which we worked on, and then we had one in back of St. Francis House. So we were pretty busy this summer, and we divided up by the various age group because the preschoolers did the one in back of St. Francis House.
And well, this isn't really a different community thing, but I just thought it interesting, use of your space, because one thing your site doesn't really have is a traditional playground.
This is true. No, we don't, and that's actually, if I'm not mistaken, it's a place where some of the parishioners that have passed on, it's like a place of prayer, a place where their bodies is laid to rest. But also in that area, these are my kindergarten students. Kindergarten's going into first grade. What the teacher had them do was come out, and when they did their reading, they took their books, and it was just a nice place where they can focus in and practice reading. So it was a nice space, and it was awesome to have the various areas where the kids can find a place of quiet and just to rest.
And I'm actually curious about this one.
Oh, wow.
Who were you partnering with here?
United States Coast Guard. Oh, my goodness. It was a 2-day activity. It was a decoding workshop for middle school students. And so what was so awesome about that is that helicopter did some rescue mission in front of us. They were showing us what they would do. They had a chance to go through and learn how themselves code and decode different boxes to make it go different ways. They actually flew drones. We actually went inside that helicopter, met the pilot, we met some of the engineers, and I'm telling you, I was more excited because what an opportunity just to learn that the Coast Guard is there to support our community. If people get lost in the river or the ocean, they are the one out there, and, saving us. And these young people, because they are young, these are 18, 19-year-olds just out of high school, are designing and making equipment to help people. And so that's what our kids learn. And I have to thank Young, the professor there who designed this. See, one of the things that they were doing is partnering up with Benny Dover Middle School. And so on the weekends, they once a month they would bring students out, they would learn different things. And so what happened, they decided they wanted to do a 2-day program during the summer. And thank goodness, Gene Jordan was a part of this, making sure that the drop name is always included. And that's one of the things I appreciate just with our just people in the community. They know that our kids are kids that like to be involved, learners, want to, just to experience new things. And so they always call us up and say, hey, by the way, we have this going on. Would you be able to partner with us? And always it's like, yes. But Coast Guard has always been our partner. My one of our board members, he just retired maybe about 2 years ago, but we had utilized the Coast Guard for many things. Besides, visiting their museum, we used to always get tours there. We always go eat there. So it's nice, and just to enjoy the facility. They have a bowling alley. So we had a chance to experience all that because of our partnership. And then also they have a group called Genesis, which is students there at the Coast Guard that just from different backgrounds, and they all from different backgrounds, but they actually go out and do community service. So they had done game night for me, where in December they watched the kids, where the parents took time to go out to eat, or maybe go out shopping, but just for that extra time. They had painted the facilities, so I've been in many of them, but at 45 Broad Street they painted that a couple of times. Let me see. They came out and helped organize. I tell you, I have truly been blessed with the Coast Guard, United States Coast Guard. They have volunteered over the years many times. Sometimes before they start giving tickets out to the football games, we used to always go. And some of the volunteers was on they had like a dance group. So our girls had a chance to participate with them. I tell you, it's a win-win.
And now for something totally different, especially like nostalgia for like what things were like outside 6 months ago.
Oh, yes. Believe it or not, that is Nest, and those are our preschoolers. These are kids that's not in kindergarten yet. They were 5-year-olds, and you see the red, white, and blue, those are triplets. So if you see 3 of them, those are triplets, Maya, Layla, and Jackson, and those sweethearts. But those kids was actually looking for crabs. So they're over at Ocean Beach and with New English Science and Sailing. And they served all of our kids. So with New England Science and Sailing, our kids did snorkeling, scuba diving. Snorkeling is not scuba diving. Snorkeling, kayaking, and then they just learn about the water itself. So, and community boating. They learn how to sail a boat. So,
Now, at what age do they actually get to be in a boat?
Believe it or not, 2 years ago, because they started sailing with the 3-year-olds. And it's really, we started on shore, and then it's just walking. But the goal is as early as you can to really get your children comfortable being in the water. It's really important because we're a coastal city, and that might be the thing to save their life. knowing how to swim, not afraid of the water. So we were one of the first group to actually had that experience, and it was like one child to like 3 staff. So it was really, they were very cautious. They were just walking around. But I tell you, that experience, those kids really loved it. They appreciate it. As a matter of fact, you might see some of their pictures of them laying in the water, in the boat,
Right.
and just that experience.
And you had mentioned earlier, too, that you take the students to the pool at Conn College.
Yeah, but
Just,
also Ocean Beach. I forgot to tell you that. So another partnership is the recreation department. Our kids receive free swim lesson and have been doing so for many years, which I so appreciated. That is so important because that's the first time some of our kids have actually had the opportunity to get in the water. I'm finding that a lot of our parents are now swimmers. So sometimes it's our kids that introduce their family to the importance of swimming.
wow. And this is just, making use of the area, the downtown.
You want to hear something cute about that? That was actually done in April, last April. Remember, we had it was cold. It was April break. The goal was to go fishing, and we did go fishing, and so we had them in groups. We had 10 fishing, and then 10 was actually drawing things that they saw that was on the Thames River. So that's what it was. So they actually was drawing, and that's.
I did not include the fishing pictures. I know if people go to your Facebook page, though, they do get to see, a lot more photos than this. I wanted to talk a little bit. Well, I don't know. Did we miss any important partnerships?
Oh my goodness. NAACP is a great community partner. We also partner with St. James, which I so appreciate. We have what we call holiday night coming up, and we're just where we all get to know each other. Music and singing. It's going to be just for for our parents, and people in the community are welcome to come in. But also with one of the things that St. James have done is adopt a family for the holiday, which is beautiful. They take time and do, we share with them the needs of the family, and they take time and bless the family with various things. Also, it used to be called the kids program. It's fashion designer program. These are clothing or toys that have been discontinued in New York, but we actually, or diapers. We actually, one of the agencies that help bring those items to our community for Southeastern Connecticut. So a lot of the daycares have benefited from this over the years, where from clothing, toys, and diapers. And it's one of those things you don't know when it's going to come, so you can't really depend on it, but when it comes, it seems like it's right on time. So, and we're talking about large quantities, over 10 daycares have benefited from the various, childcare, benefiting from the stuff that was delivered. Oh, Burlington Coat Factory. So when I talk about the fashion design, on Tuesday evening, I have every Tuesday starting next week, I will be picking up coats for our community.
Oh, wow.
And we did this last year when we picked the coats up. I put it on Facebook. So we have coats, and people from the community picks them up and use them, for their clients or for the schools. So it's one of those things where that has been a partnership since 18 years. 18, is it? I think it's been about 18 years.
Time does fly.
It really does. And over the years, they really, Jim and Moran Food Bank is where the large quantities come to, and they allow us to sort and for everyone to pick up from there. We are a United Way agency, just something to be aware of. But also, they are great partners. And one thing I really love, I'll talk forever about United Way agencies is that we support each other. And we realize that we all have different specialties and we cannot do it all. So we rely on each other. Now, to give support to our family so our family are receiving wraparound services. And so that has been a great resource. But then when I think about partners or agencies that our families and our children utilize, I think about higher edge. Average maybe 1 to 2 students a year that had opportunity to go through that program and go on to college. And wow, I am really impressed and thankful for them. I think about Hearing Youth Voices. That's another community partner. We used to be their fiduciary when they first got started, but then over the years, our kids, when they get a certain age, they get a chance to experience how to advocate for themselves. So that is so perfect. But then I think of Allentown. Allentown is a great community partners. We did our first peace training for our youth, through them. And still this summer, they came out and did a training, the importance of how do you do community organizing. So these are different components and just wonderful partners we have had over the years.
And I will just indulge myself a little and go down memory lane a little bit for Riverside Park, because about 5 or 6 years ago, we did a project together at Riverside Park when you were at
45 Broad Street.
Yes. And here, this is what the entrance of Riverside Park, looked like sort of when we started. And you can see, it was elementary school kids, mostly I would say 2nd through 5th grade perhaps. And this is sort of what we started with. We did have help from the City of New London with the mulch, and we got a very, very small grant that really all it did was pay for plants and a couple of art supplies. And so, things got smooth. You could see the plants in the end, and then the students were digging and clearing and planting and labeling everything. And then once everything was planted, and if you look at this spot now, it actually doesn't look as neat as it is now, but it really did become a pollinator garden, and it's very thick with native plants. All of these plants that got put in are probably 10 times the size they were 5 years ago. But then the students did other things. They, they drew the plants, and we made a book. They did the labels. There were art activities. And if you look in the background, you can see one student on a bicycle. And I think people, should know that most days the students, with a lot of adult staff and volunteers, rode their bikes from the Federal and location, Federal and Broad Street location, to Riverside Park and back. And some of them did not know how to ride a bike to start with. I think Kiwanis donated helmets, and Bike New London contributed bicycles. So it was just, there were so many dimensions to the whole thing.
When you look at that, what I thought was really nice is that that summer, those kids became leaders, whether they were leaders in ownership of mastering a new skill. So you are so correct with the bike riding. One of the things is that before, when I first started at the Drop, Riverside Park, we did a cleanup there many, many moons ago. And it was the bathhouse that we had to paint and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but recently, our middle school kids, that's what,
Yeah, in fact, I have pictures from like a year later.
okay.
That artist
Yes.
Carolyn McNeil worked with your middle schoolers
Yes,
to
yes.
paint the bathhouse. So here's one of the photos in process. There are a lot of plants there. They cut everything down for access, and this is what the mural looks like
Exactly.
at the end. And there was an extra day or two when they finished, so we had some leftover pavement paint.
Oh, I have that one.
So
that picture, yes.
they painted the street. It's kind of faded because I think it might have been 2013 or 14 when they did this. So it's been a while, but those paintings, you can still see them kind of guiding people up into Riverside Park.
Do you know, for some of the kids, that was the first time that they ever been in Riverside Park?
And even if they live in New London,
Even
right?
if they exactly, and that right there, so it was a park that was underutilized, you know, and so it was so nice that you guys really opened up the resources that for our family. So that was really cool. And then remember we had a cookout at the end. Sometimes some of our families participated in that.
I remember that.
So it's one of those things, and you know it's this gentleman named Bob who took care of our bikes and took care of our strollers and so thank you. He's our so you know, when we think of community partners, you know, we think about all the various people that take part. And what is so wonderful to me is that you don't have to be invited if you know that there's a need, or if you have a skill that you want to share. Please call me up. Let us know, because I tell people it's really important to have extra volunteers, because when you have extra people, that may give a youth an opportunity to have one-on-one. I mean, I had some when I think of clubs, so one of the pictures that you show where the kids was eating, that was the Lions Club. The Lions Club was doing our cookout every summer for our families, for our kids. So on the website, you may see at one of our previous locations, Mitchell, we had some cookouts there for Lights On after school. They did the meal that night for us. So when I think about all my community clubs that I'm affiliated with, I think about, like you said, Kiwanis always do our helmet, and they always donate to us annually, which we appreciate, because every dollar does support our program. Then I think about the Lions. They donate to us monetarily, but they also come in and do special activities with our kids. And like I said, cook the meal for when we had special events, and it was Lights On after school. Then the League of Women Voters, they come out. They actually did a workshop for my middle school to teach them the importance of how to vote, but also our kids had to learn how to get other people to vote on their side. And matter of fact, they come out, register our parents to vote, but they are a very important piece to our fabric. Let me think. I think that's pretty much.
Well, I have only one more
Did I
slide,
miss
but
somebody?
not of a picture. Just I saw that your holiday celebration is coming up, so I thought you might want to promote it a little bit.
Oh, most definitely. And matter of fact, if you look at those beautiful statues and figurines, they are over 25 years old. If you remember Appliance, the appliance store that was on Black Hall Street, that is the original train set and stuff they had. Libby donated that to us, and every year we've been putting it at various places. We had it at New London Public Library for a few years. So last year we have it there. So if anybody have a storefront and would like an exhibit of, because we have, that was like 4 tables. We have quite a bit of things to display. Our kids would love to take time and display it. they really appreciate it. But wouldn't it be awesome to have it all out in the community so people can see it, and it says done by the, the Drop-In Learning Center students. And that's coming up December 11th. That's a Tuesday, 5:30. Come hang out with us. We're gonna be making ornaments, and just if you just want to hang out with the family.
And that's upstairs at St. James?
That's upstairs at St. James.
Okay. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit. We have maybe, I don't know, 7 minutes.
7 minutes.
And, you're having to move around so much.
Ooh.
Because you've been at St. James now a couple years, but you were previously at Mitchell. And then you
Yes.
were downstairs at the Second Congregational Church, which is the Broad Street address, but sort of federal too. And at one point you were in, what's now the big red cube,
116
red
Federal.
square. So you have, and I'm sure I'm missing places where you've been. And what can we do in New London to help? I'm sure you're not the only nonprofit rubber meets the road kind of organization that doesn't really have a permanent home and has had trouble over the years keeping stability.
Yes. And that's hard. It's hard because when you think about the area that we're located at now is the area that has the most needs and is centrally located. And so when we think of a location, that is ideal, but it is difficult trying to. So let me just be honest.
Yeah.
So you're right. There was a couple places in between because when we were at 116 Federal Street, there was a fire, and then there was. We're talking about 23 years ago when I first got hired, and just a lot of changes happened. Then we were at Jennings School. Then while we were at Jennings School, my office was on State Street in the is that called the White Building? It's somebody owned it now, but basically our building was there. Then when we went to 45 Broad Street, we thought that was going to be it. We thought that was going to be home because that particular building, we started off being licensed for 46. We got that building licensed up to 96. We opened up a few classrooms. We partnered with a lot of people. But Second Congregational Church, the building was a bit much. So then when they left, thank goodness people was looking out for us. They knew Mitchell Child Care Daycare was closed for about 4 or 5 years. The building was just sitting there. So it was suggested, let's go there. But we only had a 3-year lease, and so they wanted to revisit that. So they did. They revisited, and so now they're back open. So one of the things that need to happen as a community, we need to think about the organizations that's providing services and resource to our community. And wouldn't it be awesome if we had a building large enough to support all of them? So when I'm talking about that, I forgot about the community orchestra. That was one place that we partnered with too. They're actually, it's called City Strings. That's what I'm talking about, City Strings. They're at New London Public Library. Then you're talking about Hearing Youth Voices. They really don't have a stable place. Fresh, right now the Martin Center may have an opportunity to convert to apartments or something like that. But then you think about, my goodness, I had a whole list of people and now I'm drawing a blank. But
I think you've convinced people though
You
that
think
you're
so?
not alone.
No, I'm not. But can you imagine? And this is happening with other places that have community land trusts. They actually have places where these agencies work together, where it's a collaborative, where they're not paying these outrageous rent. Because wouldn't it be a rent or donation or, because it does cost. And I realize we do need to help with electricity and so forth. But wouldn't it be awesome if we can do synergy and work together? And honey, we can use, what is that called? Green, what I'm trying to think about, energy when you get electricity from the
like
solar panels. We can, when we're doing this and working, getting everybody to work together, wouldn't it be awesome if we can make it green as well?
It would be great.
Yes.
Now, in the last 2 minutes or so, I thought you might want to briefly talk about your wish list, what people can help you with in terms of concrete donations other than volunteering or money, which are the two obvious ones.
Yes. Our supplies is always a plus. Right now, because of the winter months, we're looking at hats and mittens, which is very important. Pardon me, excuse me. One of the things that people don't think about when we say our supplies, just office supplies as well is always a great support. When we're looking at needs for our children, right now, even though backpacks are always important because things happen, you wear your backpack out because you need it. Those are the things that I can think of off the top of my head.
And people can go to both your Facebook page and your website, drop in.
Our website is, give me a week.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, it didn't have everything on it, but I did go to it. And it did have it is up. I had to update my flash to see it. But that was my problem, not yours. But yes, things are listed like gift cards, gas cards, winter clothing, school supplies, art supplies, backpacks you mentioned, office supplies, and also the types of things you can't take, like not bedding and not old National Geographics and stuff like that. So people should feel very free to even look at your Facebook page or your website.
Please.
To get an idea, even if it isn't totally up to date, of what they can do to support what you're doing. And yeah, just one announcement. You talked about the Community Land Trust. When's the next meeting?
Well, January the 10th at St. James Church. So please, if you're interested and want to know how we can make homes affordable but permanent, affordable, please come on out to the Community Land Trust. But like I said, it's about Community Land Trust is about homes, it's about green space, and it's about community space. So find out what space you want to be a part of and make it happen.
Well, thank you, Reona. I'm sure we're past being out of time. We'll be back next week, and we're going to continue this trend of community organizations being on the show, at least for the next month or two. So we'll see you then.
All right, thank you.
What we